We started in a community which is Title I, so high poverty, very high ELL population. And we have, I want to say, 4 of the lowest performing schools in the state of Florida immediately around us. And then, suddenly this guy's starting a school there in some strip mall behind the street. So like, check. But what we did was we simplified things. And the first thing we did was we're going to set high standards. We're going to have high expectations. We're going to set high expectations. We're going to get there, or at least we're going to set them there. If we reach those expectations, so be it. You're going to take me down, right? You're going to have to take me out. Like I'm going to have bleeding fingers by the time you say it's not working. But we're going to set them and we're going to go. It just kind of felt like maybe those expectations weren't there, at least from my experiences. So I felt like it's just why that just didn't make sense. So we went with high expectations, the 8s, and then we're going to ask questions. We're going to learn. We're going to stand on the shoulders of giants. We're going to go visit the people that are doing the things that we think we want to do or we think is best, and we're going to learn, and we're going to ask why they do it. We're not just going to do it. I'm not just going to say, okay, so we do this reading program because it gets us good test scores. That's not necessarily why. I want to know, why does it work? What are you intending on doing? Because that is probably going to enable us to understand what we're doing, knowing that the spaces we fill are dynamic. Our kids are different every day. If they ate, if they didn't eat, if they were on social media, if they weren't on social media. And if you're from Miami, if you got honked at, yelled at, and a finger kept stuck out of a window, that might change the way you were coming in to learn today anyway. So doing this didn't make sense to us. We had to inquire. Then when you're doing that, you have to be able to change. You have to understand that while you're inquiring and while you're trying to set high expectations, that the expectations or the standards are going to be different for everybody. So what might need to be here for one group today might be here for a different group today, even though our end goal is probably or should be a lot higher. So we need to be able to adapt and change. And boy, oh boy, in the 15 years that I've been here, have we needed to change from FCAT to FSA, actually from FCAT to Common Core, to FSA, to Florida Standards, Common Core, but Florida Standards, to now the best standards, to COVID, to everything that's coming around, to that just it's constant change. So being able to change was great. So it looks again like we're really smart. This was not smart. This is basic and this was simple. So there's V. And I had to add another letter. I could not leave it at HIV. So we added E. We added E because we're going for excellence, because there is no way I could have left it with just HIV. So we went with HIVE, HIVE Preparatory School, and we're going to go toward excellence, which is not the same as high expectations, because it's going to be that it's going to go great. We're not just going to set them and say we're setting them. We're going to keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting to be excellent, and to be excellent everywhere. So how do you accomplish all of that? And what I found by standing on some giants, and I'm going to point at a few people here and thank you because you've been in our space and I've been able to stand on your shoulders, even if you didn't realize I was standing on your shoulders. I saw one common thing everywhere, whether the program it was, whatever curriculum they were doing, whether it was long day, short day, like there's a lot of wonderful ideas that are great, but they were on task. That's what we saw. When we were going places that were not meeting expectations, they were not on task. And then when we went places that were meeting expectations, they were on task. The great ones can define on task in different ways, and it was so embedded in their culture that it was obvious from the security guard opening your gate. But step one is we have to be on task. So the simple answer to how is it that I think we've been a successful school and I think our school's a wonderful place starts with, we do everything with the first question of, how does this affect our on task? So the next question usually is, what does on task look like? And I naturally go to the classroom. As a teacher, at least to myself, it felt like there was this battle between good and evil from me trying to be on task and everyone else trying to make me do other things. I have to raise these kids. I have to positively reinforce them, negatively reinforce them. I have to do RTI, I have to differentiate. I don't have enough resources, but I got to figure them out. I was a high school astronomy teacher, and they said Google. Like, that's what I was told. I'm like, where's my book? By the way, I was a meteorology major. And the principal said, oh, great, you can do astronomy. And I was like, whoa, that's like much further. But you don't say that in an interview, right? You're like, yep, me. So do we really have the resources? So it just always feels like there's this battle between good and evil about like we say we should be on task in the classrooms, but are we really doing it? Are we really resourcing it? Are we really putting our finances in that direction? Is that my job every day? Am I walking that campus to hope I don't have to work today, or am I walking that campus to hope I can help win every minute of every location that I'm walking into? So to simplify things, there's our standard operating procedure. You come to our school and say, hey, where's your standard operating procedure? I'm like, wake up today, put on a pair of glasses that say we're going to win every minute we can possibly win, and let's start with the classrooms. So the first question from the classrooms that I'm usually asked is, so what do we do? Classroom management is usually number one that gets us off task in some schools. And then I say, yeah, what you do is have that conversation. Step one, say it. Classroom management is taking away the minutes I'm having on task. From there, you have a conversation about the why and what you think you can do about it, and you come up with something, and you try it. You set high expectations with what you're trying to get to. You inquire as to what you're doing, why you're doing, and what are other people doing. Be ready to be different. Be ready to change if it's not working well, and expect the best out of those kids in the classroom. So when we say 100% of the minutes in your class are as valuable as the other, we mean it. And the expectation is that that's what you're going to get from yourself and from everyone else. And then it just keeps getting more complicated because now there's a difference between on task and busy. So now you have to pick curriculum and engage the students so that what you're doing really is on task, not just busy. Then it's your job to help that classroom get there. So maybe that teacher needs a lot of support in developing them on how to engage the students. Some teachers just need you to come in and say, give me him. Who do you need? Him, and him. Not focused. All right, thank you. And you walk out and you teach, and mommy gets a phone call, and you sit there and you say, you're too good for this. But there's teaching in the classroom. In other cases, you're in there and you're saying, okay, well, we need to work on some strategies. We need to be more structured. We need to have ways to transition better. But either way, it's all going toward the same goal in the classroom, which is to be on task. Then every single staff member at that school must be or feel the exact same way. So one of my favorite things to watch is when the Promethean board stops working. The truth is that like she turned it off, but that's okay. The Promethean, or just restart it, really, right? That's like the answer always, but it's not working. And it's like a full sprint running into that classroom when the text goes out, my board isn't working, because all of us are here to help support on task. And a board not working, when you plan for a board today, is like, uh-oh, what do I do? But here comes everyone who has the ability to help and support, because we got to get it back so we can get right back on task. How you pick your curriculum, how you schedule your school, how you do RTI, how you dismiss, how you arrive, how you defend planning, how you defend their schedules, getting them home early enough to go to the gym, because that brings you back healthy so you can be on task tomorrow. Every decision you make when you're running the business, or at least every decision we make as we're running the business, we focus on defending the time that we're doing on task. It translates everywhere across the school. It translates into extracurriculars. It translates into administrative. It's a culture, and it supports anything you want to do. What we do is rigor. What I was hoping to do is go into that community and say, we're going to give rigor. We're going to work hard. We're going to reach heights. We're going to get high school credit. We're going to be sophomores when we're supposed to be freshmen. We're going to be enrolled in college when we're in middle schoolers. We're going to have rigor. And the way to get there is to be efficient so that all the other barriers, which there's a lot of them, are addressed after the first one. Because if we're not maximizing 60 minutes of math, but then we think we need to go do a whole new math curriculum, are you really just going to run into the same problem? So it's just easier to make a decision when you know the problem isn't, are we maximizing our time? Are we truly trained? Are we just, maybe we do need to do that. So last thing I'm going to say to close it out is just like a little example of what our rigor with our on-task approach is. And it was a young man named Devon that was at our school who we were very aggressive with getting acceleration and challenging our students. And so he's very bright. He was very bright and very capable, but he wasn't doing very well. And the instinct that we had from the group was when things got hard was maybe these high school credit courses are not for me. You know, they take sophomore level classes when they're in 8th grade, sometimes even 7th grade. Plus they have an algebra or geometry sophomore level class and Spanish for a kid who doesn't speak Spanish, but it's high school credit, and let's get those credits. Plus we got them dual enrolled into college. But either way, it was, I don't think I could do this. Maybe I should go to the regular classes. And long story short, he had 4 math classes, free aftercare with a tutor, and he got all level 5s and all his high school credit and dual enrolled, because the answer was, we're going to keep the rigor high, the expectations high, and then we're just going to use every minute. And if I got to add minutes and add minutes and add minutes, we will. And in his graduation speech, it was like, so young man, you got all 5s. You got everything that you were striving for that you almost pulled back on. Tell your classmates how you did this. And he looks at me and says, dude, you gave me 4 math classes. If I didn't get a 5, I got a real problem. And I was like, there you go, everybody. That's the solution to education. Give them 4 math classes and go from there. So again, thank you, everybody, for your time.